Welcome to my live with Christine Mason. I will be joined momentarily by her. She is the founder of Rosebud Woman and author of the new book Reverence, which is just being released today. So she will be discussing a new category of wellness, intimate wellness. So what is Rosebud? Rosebud was created to support all the stages of a woman's life, from reproductive to sexual. Rosebud addresses inherited body biases and shame. It also talks about how a woman can love her body best while solving intimate skin needs with an organic, all-natural, plant-derived product line. Rosebud's hormone and toxic-free formulations enhance women's health and self-care, and they have a sustainability ethos. So I will be joined now by the Rose Woman herself. Here she is, Christine Mason. Hello.
Hey, worked on the first try. I'm so excited.
I'm
Hey.
very impressed. How are you?
Wonderful. Wonderful. Where are you? It looks like you're in the park somewhere, in the
I
woods
know,
somewhere.
isn't it so pretty? It's such a beautiful day out today. Hi. Where are you? In San Francisco, right?
I am. I live just north of San Francisco, about half the time, at the foot of Mount Tamalpais, which is this beautiful sort of holy mountain in Marin County.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad to see you. And thank you everyone for joining us for this conversation. Much needed conversation, especially for women. Although you do address men's evolving life cycles as well. So I want to quote you from your website. You said, sex is only a tiny slice of living in a body. We women live with our intimate parts 24/7, 365 for 81 years on average. Women have many needs throughout their life cycle than solely sexual support. This is why they call the category intimate wellness. So I love that because it's a new category for wellness. It's a new pillar of wellness, which is really important to address. And your website is really, really incredible. rosewoman.com. Everyone should check it out. So, Christine, let's talk about body shame and body image. Okay, with this new direction we're seeing in this whole body positivity movement and the Instagram filters where everything is filtered, how do we raise our daughters to know and love their bodies and don't have that inherited shame?
But you pointed out two directions that are happening at the same time. Like you've got this one movement, which is body positivity. You see all kinds of new models everywhere from, the mannequins at Target to representations of different colors and body types online. And then at the same time, you have these things that want to polish us into a perfect filter through social media. So when I don't know about you, but there were always these messages to me that, your body kind of belongs to someone else. You're supposed to shape it and contort it from an early age to fit some sort of platonic ideal. And when that comes to what you were mentioning on intimate wellness and sexual wellness, particularly what I would call the blacked out triangle at the base of the body, the whole pelvic basin, like things that were called your private parts, shamed, you didn't even know their names, maybe they got a little nickname or something like that. But all of the components of the pelvic basin and your sexual and reproductive life were kind of masked. So, one of the first things you can do if you're raising a person with a vulva or vagina is name all the parts. Teach your daughter that it's not just her prizes or whatever, her privates, but that it actually has all these components and names. And if you're with a young girl who's approaching puberty, then talk to her about what her reproductive cycle is like and what a period's like and the phases of her life that she can expect. Menopause, perimenopause, all that kind of stuff. But I would say one of the key things is early on, like you don't just learn how to obey your parents and do what others say and then be suddenly born like Venus on the half shell when you're sexually ripe and be able to say no. So one of the key things you can do is, as a girl's coming up, is teach her that she has the right to have preferences about her body, what she wants to wear, how she wants to be touched or not touched. You don't have to kiss Uncle Joe, you know, what she wants to eat, those kinds of things, like that she has bodily sovereignty, autonomy, and opinions from a very young age.
It's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
And, this idea of eradicating shame early on is really key. You talk about it with at what age do you think that should begin, that conversation about your bodies?
Well, I think that one of the things is like, look at the negatives. Like, you don't want to start body shaming your kid, like you're too fat or you're too skinny or you're too small. Like, it's really none of your business as a parent, other than to say you're a magical, wonderful incarnation. Look how perfect you are. You are like a seed, like a flower or a tree, perfectly born, and just to be in wonder at your child, not in criticism of your child or wanting them to be different. And you can turn that lens on yourself, by the way. Like, if you were grown, I was talking to someone who's like a famous model, and her father would weigh her in every Sunday.
Oh
I mean,
no.
or athletes, a lot of that.
Yeah.
I would say also, like, let's not pass over the fundamental attitude toward the body that often comes with religion. Like, if you're in a sort of a more enlightened religious frame of mind, then you might think that your body is a perfect gift. But if you're not, you might be born or raised with the idea that your body is somehow dirty, when actually the body is the whole point of incarnation. You know, that whole thing where your spirit coming into a body, it's about the body and it's wonderful. So I think also sort of checking as a parent where you've inherited ideas that the body is less than beautiful or perfect as it's born.
Very important. So who is the Rose Woman?
Oh, I think she's somebody who's sort of gradually unwinding all these stories that we grew up with. Um, when I was thinking originally Rosebud, which is the name of the intimate products, was around the shape, the beautiful sort of unfolding rose shape of the vulva and all these folds and things. That's also kind of a
Oh, I
sacred
love
geometry
that.
thing. But that rose by itself was more like a gentler form of woke, that you were sort of awakening to your and rising up into the fullness of your power and your understanding of your core capacity. And as you sort of say, oh, wow, I've been growing up with these ideas that women can or can't do this, men can or cannot do all these beliefs, that as I gradually wake up to each one of those, more windows and doors open. And I'm able to stand ever more in peace and power in the world. And also, like, I really think that the way we treat our own body, the dialogue we have with our body, is exactly how we create it rolls out into the systems that we create in the world, like the structures that we create. If you think you're unworthy and your sex is shameful, it's going to be hard for you to do reproductive health for women, etc. So
Yeah, and you said to me the other day, which I loved, we're born as nature, so we have to work hard to stay connected to
yeah.
that nature, to that inner self, and which brings me to my next question. So, as women, we have multiple cycles. Okay, some are spoken of freely, like our reproductive and sexual cycles, but some carry stigmas, like menopause. What does Rosebud do to dispel the myths about menopause and support a healthy body image through all those life cycles?
Okay, this is one of my favorite topics. So cycles in general, right? Like, we have been taught about linear time. Like, time goes in a certain way. It's measured, Monday, Friday, 9 to 5. Women's bodies generally don't work that way. They work in not only I call them the nested cycles, like the cycle of the day, the cycle of the month, your sexual cycle, even your pregnancy follows the same sort of arc of rising, peaking, falling, resolving. And so it is with the reproductive cycle over the course of your life. So when you're hitting sort of, I'm in my mid 50s now, four birth children, two step kids, grandchildren. And what I didn't expect about this time after menopause, that it would be so fecund and productive, full of energy, full of joy, more freedom because I'm not sort of tied to a schedule that's tied to school and other things like that. But that I had been told that once I hit a certain age, I would peak and I would be not valued or invisible in the culture. And that is just not true. So if you're out there and you're like in the stages of perimenopause and you're like, what is going on with my weird hormones? Instead of fighting it and combating it, like, maybe deal with the symptoms so that you feel some physical relief when they're peaking. But please leave any fear or doubt behind as to your perfect worthiness all the way through to the last breath you take in these bodies. That's what I would say, number one. So within the context of having hormonal fluctuations, they do create certain body responses. So whether it's a hormone fluctuation from chemicals, like you're taking an antidepressant or a statin or any number of other medications can create dryness and hormone imbalances in the body or shifts in the body chemistry. So can pregnancy. You go up and down with that. And so can the changes around menopause, hormone changes and things. And that can lead to dryness, which in turn creates problems with UTIs, recurrent UTIs. So you really want to treat sort of the whole skincare in the pelvic basin, and then also take herbs and supplements that can support your natural balance. I mean, also, I mean, your material is so beautiful because you're often talking about herbal supplements, plant medicines, things like that, and also the mind-body connection, the necessity of staying in positive self-talk, meditating, moving your body. And the more that you do that, you can enter the second and even the third age of life totally vibrant.
It's brilliant. I think that is just the most perfect summation. I hope everyone heard that because it is just so well put. And I want to direct everyone to Christine's website, which is rosewoman.com, and follow her on her Instagram at Rosebud Woman. At Rosebud Woman. So you offer solutions on Rosebud Woman for arousal, for calming, for freshness, for skin moisture, while cultivating comfort through all the life cycles. Can you break down the OBGYN approved vegan and ecological products that you have? You have Anoint, Arouse, beautiful packaging, by the way. Honor, Soothe, and Refresh. And also tell us what they do.
Yeah. So first of all, I was running tech companies and raising my kids, and I was studying yoga and tantra and herbalism on the side. Like I was really coming into my own sort of sexual awareness over the course of my life. And there were a couple of threads that wove together in creating the products and creating the organization. One was that I started to understand that for every concern that the human body has, there is a plant that meets that need. And so I really wanted to emphasize traditional medicines and traditional wisdom and the ingredients you put in, and to trust the plants and to trust Earth. So that was one of the first initiatives. And the next thing I wanted to make sure was that in speaking to women's embodiment, that I didn't do anything that meant that felt like it was shaming, or that felt like it was telling you that there was something wrong with you and something that you had to fix. I wanted to know that I was really speaking to needs that people had. So I started by doing a big survey of 3,000 women between the ages of 25 and 70 and asking them what their intimate skincare concerns were. And the number one concern was moisture. And that was not, I expected it to be correlated to menopause, but there were a lot of younger women with the same concern. The second one was sensation, like the perception that they couldn't feel a lot in their pelvic basin, or they didn't have contact with their genital sensation. And so I wanted to speak to that as the second product. The third one was irritation, itching, swelling, that kind of stuff. And the fourth one was a general sense of being not feeling like they could clean their bodies, that part of their body safely without drying it out further. And so the first four products launched to meet those specific needs. And the main product, the first one, is this Honor Balm, which you held up in the window. Now, this is so...
Here's the mini.
Yeah, this is the regular full size.
By the way, they smell so good. The rose fragrances.
The ingredients. That's not supplemental.
Yeah.
One of the, by the way, aside on clean beauty, if you're in the clean beauty industry, if you're in any beauty industry, there's a little loophole in the ingredients laws, and it's called fragrance. And within you can put things into any product under the nickname of fragrance and not have to disclose what they are. So if you ever see that on a label, just know that that's generally speaking a place that bad stuff is hiding. There's actually a bill in Congress now to eliminate that loophole, along with several other loopholes for ingredient disclosure. Anyway, so
that's good to know.
You mentioned this, you mentioned the glass, and I want to just talk about why I made these look like perfume bottles. And something that you could put out on your nightstand and leave there.
They're beautiful.
Because I didn't want them to have like lightning bolts and like be sitting in a drawer and, I wanted everything to reinforce the message that this is something that's to be lived out loud and celebrated and visible. So I made this so it could sit on your nightstand and you could like scoop a little bit out and do an intimate massage every night. And it has an open mouth jar. And oh, by the way, did your grandma ever have like that silver tray on her on
Oh,
her with the mirror tray and the
my
little,
mother still does.
isn't it beautiful? So
Yes,
this
with
is
all of
like
her
a
little
modern version of
silver,
that.
yeah,
We put
all
like
the
the little
tchotchkes.
embossing
Yeah,
on the top, and so that it would be like the modern boudoir. And then
yeah.
inside is sort of a translucent balm, but then when you scoop it out and you put it on your skin, it turns very quickly into a dry oil. And the reason that mattered is because part of staying moist and alive in that area is getting blood flow. And so even the application
It's so
process to
good.
me was like was part of becoming more embodied. So as you massage and you do your hip points and your your outer labia, your inner labia, the clitoris, and you put stuff on there and you like really let it massage in, you're also bringing blood flow into the area.
But
And
you
if you
can put
don't,
this all over your body, correct?
that's an intimate product. You can put it everywhere. I use it.
So Honor is just for the private parts. Okay, got
It is. And I wanted to just point out, there's this little book that I send out with the products. And inside of here are some diagrams, which you can see, which show
it.
where there are pressure points in the whole pelvic basin. And those pressure points, and in the lower back and things like this, those pressure points, if you're doing self-massage, can help you really access and liberate some of the nerves and the blood flow in the pelvic basin. So the application is part of the product sort of ethos or bob
Right.
mood. And so is the way you talk to yourself while you're doing it. So if you take the body oil, the Anoint body oil, which is one of our newer products, this is an all over oil. What I'm wanting people to do is as they apply it, start at their feet and affirm their
This is
entire
Anoint.
embodiment. Yeah. So that has a really fantastic ingredients called Schisandra chinensis, as well as something called pennywort, which has studies against
What is
how it
that?
affects scars and other things. But
Oh,
I want you to take this, if you're going to use this or really any
can you use
massage
that
oil.
on a C-section scar?
I do. I use that on the C-section scar. I use that on the stretch marks on the breasts, on the belly. I have a little port scar on my neck, and I work it here. It's almost invisible now.
Oh,
I've been working it there for 3 years. And then what I would say about that is when you're touching yourself, like your whole body is responding to the quality of your touch and the messages you're giving it. So if you're going to do it, don't just like slam it into your body. Be like, oh my God, look at these hands. They've worked so hard. Look at these feet. They help me stand. You know, give yourself the affirmation and the love that you would give to an adoring child as you're touching yourself and anointing. Okay, I'll tell you about the Arouse. Because that one is kind of the sexiest product. Most of these are for self-care, but the arousal one is designed to actually bring sensation into the pelvic basin. So you can lose contact with sensation there for a lot of reasons. Some is trauma, you know, some is you've just numbed out and shut down, like a lot of women carry trauma in their hips. And so
why is that?
you know, I mean, unprocessed sexual encounters, undigested shock, wounding, injury, like not wanting to pay attention. There are a lot of reasons that there's shame in the body. I mean, you know the statistics on women who've been sexually assaulted, violated, where they haven't had permission. All that stuff lives in the tissues. What's that saying? The issues live in the tissues. And so I
Well, the
want that part of
hips,
the
no
body
less.
to be like, you know, embrace and also understand that if you can't feel anything, it's a smart adaptation. If you can't feel anything, at some point that was a wiser choice for your body. If you have any adaptation that numbs you out, that was because it was better than feeling. And now you're entering into a safe place where you can feel. And so when you put this serum is a very lightweight oil, and I put a couple of herbs in there that are used in Polynesian culture for sexual arousal and oral hygiene. So you can try it on your lips if you're sensitive, and it creates a little plumping sensation. And if it goes on the inside of the lip line, this, you know, where the lip goes from being kind of rough and wrinkly to smooth on the inner mucosa,
Uh-huh.
that's the same thing as in the vulva. That line in the vulva is called the Hart's line. And on the inside of the Hart's line, or on the inside of the mouth, you'll start salivating and sort of get a little bit of self-lubrication. So the mechanism of the serum is just a few drops to generate your own lubrication mechanism and bring blood flow
Oh,
into that area.
God, that's so interesting.
It'll take about a
You
minute,
really
and
put
then
a
it
lot
should
of
start
science behind
tingling.
this, I must say.
And then, of course, the other products are, you know, similarly herbally inclined. The Soothe is arnica. It's better arnica than you can get if you buy pure arnica. And calendula and comfrey and other things to soothe irritation and itching. And I used in doing the cleanser. I didn't
So you
want
have
soap and water.
anti-inflammatories in there too.
Yeah, yeah. A calendula comfrey. It's in a yeah. And then in the arousal serum, there are also aphrodisiacs like maca and ashwagandha and suma and all kinds of other things like that. And then in the cleanser isn't because your natural smell is bad. It's because I'm trying to keep soap and surfactants off of that very tender skin. So it's aloe, witch hazel, and natural antibacterials and antivirals like tea tree and lavender and things like that.
It's fantastic. You really formulated something
The products. I don't want it to be an
special
ad.
here. Someone's asking, so I
Yeah, I
want
mean,
to open,
I really do trust the earth.
do trust the earth. I know. Mother Nature knows best. I would invite the viewers to submit any questions and comments to Christine that I can share with her.
Thank you.
But I want you to, I want to direct everyone to the website. So it's rosewoman.com. And for the holidays, Christine has given us a special Purist 15 discount, 15% off your first order. So it's Purist in all caps, followed by the number 15 when you check out at rosewoman.com. So just check out our website because there's so many interesting articles from OBGYNs and wellness practitioners on there discussing all of these issues that we've addressed already, from body shaming to the myths about menopause. And I want to ask you about your new book, Reverence, and congratulations. It just came out today, and people are asking, where can they buy it?
It did just come out today. Look, I have to show it to you. You like it?
Yeah, beautiful.
It's about creating ritual in modern life. I mean, I grew up in a very linear thinking household. I run tech, I'm a grounded human being. But what I've realized more and more is that, magic is the best thing out there. Like just living with a little bit of enchantment and magic changes your whole experience. And to like humble yourself, to be in wonder and awe every day. And that something about the pace of modern life makes us want to be mastery and to switch from that, like mastery to mystery, and just like letting the space between be alive and vibrant. And so to shift from a worldview of transaction, extraction, utilitarianism to a worldview of wonder and reverence changes the whole game. So for me, reverence did begin with a perception of nature as alive, like rocks are alive and all of that stuff. But and what I found happening in myself is that the more that I saw that, the more I wanted to treat the world that way. Like reverence and ritual were an awakening to the preciousness of life. And that preciousness translated into making different choices. Like it reconnected me to the earth. And if you are concerned about environmental collapse or any of the other things that are going on, slowing down to the pace of that kind of love was really what was behind the book. So I wrote a lot about reconnecting to that sense in yourself, and then also to slowing down to the pace of feeling and creating ritual around all the things that are happening to you. So
Rituals are very important.
yeah, and the book is, there are rituals that are primarily for the female body in here, things like rituals for your cycles and rituals for entering the free period or the empty nest, rituals for grief and miscarriage. And there are also rituals for everyone, like coming of age for boys and girls, marking any kind of milestones or big shift, rituals for following and tying yourself more to the earth cycles, daily kinds of things for taking care of yourself. Like what are the rituals that you have to remind yourself that you're perfect nature every day? And even some about loving your partner, like a ritual of adoration that was written by my friend Lillian Love. So there are some contributions in here from other people. So that's called Reverence, Creating Ritual in Modern Life. And it ships with a journal to start writing down what your own rituals are, which I'm super excited. I mean, it's so corny. It's like, I know, like, there's a part of me that still really just likes match things, but the idea that I could set aside something special where there's a journal that you're writing down what you're up to. And
well, journaling is a ritual.
Yes,
and
journaling is ritual.
It is definitely a practice in wellness too.
Yeah. So this is at rosewoman.com, and I did put it up on Amazon last week in anticipation of its release. So you can get it on Amazon and you can get it on your website,
yes,
rosewoman.com.
Yes,
absolutely.
So You and I are in our 50s, and we should feel like it's the best phase of our lives. I know you said
Yeah,
that it is for you, and I
yeah,
feel like I've worked really hard to understand my body better and how to take the best care of it.
yeah.
And your book sounds like it's about self-love, but also how to love your body the best possible way. What tools do you provide so that women can feel that support?
Yeah. So, one of the things, if you're just relearning how to love your body, um, one of the tools I have is a little journal where I ask you, like, what would you do, by the way, if you wanted to love somebody else? You treat them with kindness, you take them out to play, all of those things. So just what does it mean to physically turn love into a verb and not just an attitude towards your own body? And all the kinds of things you can do that about feeding it healthfully and beautifully that you talk about. But in case you're like just retro learning how to do it, I actually put it in a checklist. Like I showed my body love today by doing these things. And what's my attitude toward my body? So that's one of them. I still do that work. Like I was meeting with this woman even last week, and she gave me an exercise called Horse and Rider, where you enter into kind of a quiet state, and then you shift. The mind is the horse, the mind is the rider, and the body's the horse. And you ask the horse, like, what do you want to say to the rider? And you let your body talk. You listen to the dialogue that the body has. And every time the body has this deep wisdom that the mind is generally trying to suppress or override or control. So I have a lot and in the books and in the articles there, and then some things that have been contributed by other people about mindfulness techniques to learn how to listen to your body better, and then in the books and the materials like how to love yourself and how to do it in an active way. So some of those things, and if you have any
That
other
sounds like
questions
the
or ideas,
perfect gift, by the way.
it's a
What a
good
beautiful
one. It's
book.
a good one.
For your
The
best
book,
friend, your mother, your sister,
yeah.
your child, whatever, whomever.
And when
Really,
you're going through this process, it's like you might start unwinding things like, who does my body belong to? Who gets to say what I do with my body? What was I taught about my body and my sexuality? And slowly ask these questions, journal on these questions, and just start finding a little bit more. Like I do this gesture to push other people's energies away from my field and find out, like, what do you believe when you create the space to actually feel? And that process is really enabled by journaling. Yeah. So
by the way, my lips are tingling like nobody's business. Oh my God. This
it
really
really
works.
works.
When did I put it on? About 6 minutes ago?
Yeah.
So this is the Arouse
Yeah.
formulation.
Yeah.
Again, these are plant-derived, all-natural, organic products. So this
When I
tingle
first
is
did
from
that plant, it's a
plant-based
little
ingredients.
tiny flower head called spilanthes, and I grow the flower in my garden over there. I have a farm, and so when you take the little flower head and you bite the tip off, your whole mouth like explodes like champagne bubbles, and you're like, whoa! And so to make an extract of that and put it at the right dosage for intimate parts was a challenge. However, um,
Every woman needs to have this, by the way.
the first
That's
minute
amazing.
is like nothing's happening, and then for about 5 or 7 or 10 minutes or so, it like really tingles and plumps. And then the plumping stays about an hour, which increases your general
That's
pleasure, whether
great.
it's self
Could
pleasure
use
or
some
others.
plumping with all the collagen depletion that goes on in your 50s too.
Yeah, that too. That too. Um,
So you
yeah,
have a section on your website, rosewoman.com, called Wisdom, okay? And you address really incredible topics for women and some men, and we'll get to that in a minute. There are 34 symptoms of perimenopause, okay?
yeah.
What are some of them, and what ways can we care for our privates in perimenopause?
Okay, so it really is super interesting. Like menopause is literally a point in time. Menses is your period, and it's derived from the root word of moon, so it loosely follows the cycles of the moon. You live on planet Earth. Menarche is the first period you ever have, and menopause is the last one that you ever have. So in between, there are these fluctuations, like you're ramping up to reproduction and you're ramping down from reproduction. And perimenopause is the period where you begin to ramp down from reproduction. And so you get these hormonal fluctuations, and we all know hormones like are the they send chemical signals to our body to do things.
Right.
So there are a lot of hormones. There are things like adrenaline, they're endocrine signals like that make you move faster. So the ones that shift in perimenopause are uh, estrogen, testosterone, etc. So what happens then is you start with getting irregular periods. You might start getting hot flashes. You might get night sweats. Insomnia is very common. Um, Loss of libido, like just not interested anymore. Although I personally think that the loss of libido is also highly tied to the stage of life. Like most women, when they're hitting perimenopause, they're in their late 30s, early 40s, maybe mid 40s. And you know what else is going on then? Taking care of children, peak of your career, taking care of your elder parents. Like who's like loss of libido is also highly correlated to just being too stressed out and not able to relax. So there's these physical symptoms like that. And we do obviously stuff for loss of libido, and we do things for menopausal dryness. And I can recommend places for things like insomnia products and supplements for that. And then there are some mental things that come with the shift in hormones, like brain fog, anxiety, irritability, um, depression sometimes. But again, it's really difficult to tease out which are coming from what aspect of your life. And hair loss, that's another fun one.
Oh,
Uh,
great.
so you kind of go through this period, but then it all stops, and then
Yeah,
you
turn
hit
it around for me.
30. This all
Tell me the
happening.
silver lining,
I
please.
do. You know what? The moisture can be addressed with moisture. My acceptance of these changes, instead of trying to fight them all the time, is also like a big part of it. Like if I could welcome croning or the third age in a different way, I might feel a little bit less stressed about those things. So as I'm entering the third age, I want to really honor that, like step into my wisdom. You have earned this. Like to birth and raise children, to build a career, to get to where you are, like you have earned this freedom and your knowledge, so like celebrate that is kind of the other piece of it is, so these are some symptoms, you can handle it, you had children, you've been through worse is basically my point on that. So you can modify the symptoms but also embrace this next stage, like you've got another 30 years. What's really interesting to me in starting the company is that there was no breakdown of what happens to a woman's sexual, sensual, and reproductive life after menopause. Like basically it's menopause and then that's the way it is until you die. But there are other cognitive stages and other things that happen and other needs after 52, which is the average age of menopause. Different kinds of touch. People are still really sexually and sensually alive in their 60s and 70s and 80s. Women want touch, men want touch. They want to be held in different ways. And as people get old and their spouses die, the loneliness is part of the experience that they don't
What?
talk about.
Why is there no label for that stage after menopause?
You know what? We can both guess at it because it's devalued. Like if you're only valued for your reproductive capacity or your beauty or whatever, and then that's not there anymore, then you go into this matriarch role or this. So why would anyone study it? But the
Right.
reality is, like, we did a survey at the company last year, and women in their 60s and 70s were like, we love having sex with our husbands. We want more physical activity. Sometimes our husbands aren't
In their
interested.
70s? Wow.
Even in their 70s, late
That's
60s, early
great.
70s, they want to be connected. And if it changed, like it might not be as athletic, but they still wanted the physical embracing and connection and love. And I mean, for me, that was like something I had never really thought about. Like it was just not part of my worldview when I was younger. And now I look at it and I'm like, my God, you're like a miracle. Until the day that you're off the planet, your need for physical love and touch and connection is real. If you have a real elder parent, like a grandparent or something like that, one of the nicest things you can do is to learn how to do gentle massage, like on their neck and on their arm. And because the touch deprivation as people get older is so great. So anyway, I kind of got off track there, but
And in this pandemic, the touch deprivation. People don't
you know,
want to greet each other with, affection anymore because of it.
yeah, it's if you can create a touch pod, like if you have children at home or people that
The
you know
touch
are
pod, I
safe
love
to,
that.
yeah, like we do that. We have a cuddle pod, like a group of people we know aren't sick right now, and so we just can lean into each other and touch each other, and
You know
and
what I love about what you're doing is that you're talking about something much bigger than you realize. All of these elements, from movement to mindfulness to self care to working hard to figure out ways to love your body through all of its cycles. I mean, that is also a formula for treating every hurdle in life, right?
Yeah,
Not just the aging one, but
that's right.
anytime anything is going on, those are the centering devices to apply. And you really are offering sort of a secret to survival, right?
I You have my number. Thank you. I have said in the past that the products are like a delivery vehicle for this message of liberation,
Yeah.
that you have all these tools at your disposal to self-regulate. You know, mindfulness is one, movement is another, being in nature is another. And that I thought I'd just go to the core of it with intimacy because it's the place where we're the most vulnerable and often the most locked up. And so, yes, I agree with you.
Well, intimacy is such a big part of that. You look at like the blue zones all around the world, and one of the criteria for these, people who live without illness, for an extended period of time, is because there's a sense of community and camaraderie and closeness and intimacy that they've cultivated. That
Yes.
is life sustaining. That is the
I
force of life.
I have a project that I've been doing currently with this. It's a retreat center on the Big Island of Hawaii, and there's a group of people that are living there. And every week they have come together intentionally to do what you're saying, to live in community and to clear things. So every week they meet in what's called a coherence practice, and they
Hmm.
sit in a circle and they check in, and then they say any conflicts that have arisen or any places where they got rough or edgy with one another. And I'm the child of a family that divorced, and so like my first reaction is, oh no. Like every time still we're sitting in a circle and trying to clear a complaint, my first reaction is the family's going to break up, oh no. Like I have an inner child that shrieks at that idea. But then I watch what they do, and they say, this is how I feel, this is where I would have preferred this, and the other person takes it in and they breathe it in and they run it through their filter and they ask for clarification. And at the end of a couple of hours, 2 hours on a Tuesday night, they're hugging and loving each other and they move on to the next day. And it's like the intimacy of that kind of honesty,
Amazing,
with
yeah.
everybody being willing to be accountable for their own role and what's going on and hold each other accountable to their blind spots, is a miracle to me.
Love that.
Yeah.
And I love this touch pod idea. It's so lovely. It's just warms the cockles. Okay, so I'm
What is a
here with
cockle? Wait.
I am here with intimacy expert Christine Mason. She founded an incredible website everybody has to check out. It's called rosewoman.com. Follow her at rosebudwoman.com. Check out her products, okay? She's giving us a special friends and family discount for the holidays. It's Purist 15 when you check out, Purist, all in caps, followed by the number 15 when you check out. But this website and her book Reverence that just got released today, it's not just for women, okay? Men go through their own menopause stage. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that means?
Yes, that's called andropause, although a friend of mine wrote a book called Manopause to make it more, to make it more clever. But men also go through a declination in their hormones. They're also on a cycle over the course of their life. Starting in their late 20s, testosterone begins to decrease, and then around 40, it plummets. And so, you see a lot of men who take Viagra or supplements like that. But I would say, whereas for women, the female identity is so tied to being voluptuous and pretty and all of the things that are related to being healthy and reproductive. Men also have this pressure to be a virile their whole lives long. And they don't like to say that they're also often not as interested as they used to be as they get older in sexuality and sensuality. So we'd like to educate people about that so that men don't feel the pressure to sort of like always be on, and that women can have dialogues with their spouses about what they're going through. If you're in a heterosexual relationship, or if you're a man-to-man couple, that you should also be having that dialogue around testosterone. There are ways to do natural androgen support. We do a product with a partner, Hearthstone Collective, that's on the site called Manpower, which has muriapuama and beetroot and pine pollen and other extracts that are proven androgens. And, we just try to really bring it to the forefront that we're all living in bodies that change, and whether you're a man or a woman, that you can get support. I do like Brian Clement's book, Menopause. If it's a new concept to you, then,
Who
go
wrote
check
that
that
book?
out. A guy named Brian Clements.
Someone was asking, why don't you have any toys on your site?
Because there are people who do that really well,
Okay.
Um,
I love that question. And then somebody else asked, what color, who is the maker of your lipstick and what is the color? Your lipstick is quite lovely, I must say.
So my lipstick strategy is to put it on and then rub it off really hard. So I don't know what that is. Wait, I'll tell you.
Oh,
I can't tell
love
you
that.
actually because the bottom's rubbed off. So I can't tell you. It's Serge Lutens, but I don't know what color.
What's the brand?
Serge Lutens.
Serge Lutens. Okay. Serge Lutens.
You have to say it like this. Like,
the French know a lot about intimacy.
Yeah, on the toys, I just do want to answer that. I do not have toys or lingerie, but I did an interview with the woman who founded Supernatural Lingerie not that long ago. It's on the podcast, and it's the Rose Woman is the pod, and she talks about working with your own psychology as a woman, like putting lingerie on to please yourself, to discover different roles, to use the costuming of that to really explore your mindset around sensuality and sexuality. She also talks about, there's a study at the beginning of that podcast about rats and how rats were more sexually excited about mating with a rat who had a little furry vest on than a rat that didn't have rat lingerie. So there might also be something, there might also be something hardwired into us to like that novelty. And then in terms of the toys, there are so many
it's piquing one of the senses, sight.
Yeah, it's one of the senses, and men in particular are stimulated visually. Women are more stimulated by sound, by talk. So whatever you choose to do, what I would just say is know that whatever your interest is to explore it with like compassion and gentleness, and like just look at it. If you think that what you're interested in is kinky, you're probably wrong. Because if you look at the survey of sexual interests in adults, they run the gamut, and the things that people think are freaky about them are very normal. So just trust your body, ask it what brings its pleasure, and explore that,
So someone's asking a rather intimate question, and good for you, because communication is key in addressing these issues and eradicating the stigma behind menopause. What do you offer in the way of products that help odor that comes with menopause?
Well, odor can be caused by a lot of things. If it's bacterial, nothing, because bacterial vaginosis and other things are primarily the things that cause odor, and you should see a doc. And so that's one thing. Changing. Also, you know how you can smell somebody who eats meat or drinks a lot of alcohol across the room if you start to have a tender olfactory sense, because you emit like what you eat. So if your body odor or your vaginal odor is very strong, it could also be from what you're eating, drinking, drugs you're taking, supplements you're taking, things like that. So get as clean as possible on your diet and see if it persists. And but generally speaking, there's a variation in smell that's normal. But when it starts to smell foul or fishy, then go see the doctor. And my products are for general cleaning and freshness. It's not
freshness.
To deodorize
refresh, which is a great thing to eradicate odor. Refresh, cleansing wipe. Right?
Yeah, I don't like single serving from a planetary perspective, these little individual wipes, but I did want people to have something that was on the go. And the one thing I want to comment about that product, it's been a huge learning curve for me. But you know how you buy bamboo sheets or bamboo clothing? When I was getting ready to do these wipes, I wanted to do bamboo because it's so soft. And I got almost to the point of production, and I learned that bamboo has almost 200 chemical processes that are used to turn it from stocky bamboo into cloth. And that in order for it to be healthy and not have all that chemical particulate come off on your body, it had to go through an ecological certification. Like there were a lot of things you had to do to get it clean. So anytime you're buying bamboo in any product, look for an Ecotex certification in order to keep it out of your skin, because your skin absorbs those particles also. And this is a bamboo substrate with an Ecotex certification.
Great to know. So you have, that's the refresh that we covered. Now, you have so many good ideas for the holidays. What are some of your favorite gift sets for self-care?
Okay.
Walk
First
me
of
through
all,
it.
my number one holiday thing is not about gifts. My number one holiday thing is about spaciousness. And you can all do this exercise with me. Take your hands here and imagine all of the expectations of the holiday against your body and go, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
I love that.
No, thank you.
Are you creating a wall, or you're just expanding your space,
I'm
your
just
circle?
expanding my space. I am saying, you know what? I brush off anything that's not mine, and I say, what would create in the middle of darkness? It's the winter solstice. It's the birth of new life. Whatever you're gonna do with your Christmas holidays, or your festival of lights is just ending, Festivus, whatever you're going to do. How does it become like an emergent thing to celebrate that and not something that's imposed on you? I like gift giving, but what I like more is connection with my family and friends. And I'm in a relationship, and so like my connection with him is really important to me. And I know that we're going to be busy, and so I was telling you, I think yesterday, that I have this little advent calendar of intimacy where like every day a little.
Yes, I want to hear about that.
This is like a little.
The advent calendar of intimacy. The
You
sexual
know
advent
that this
calendar.
time's going to be totally busy if you accept any social responsibilities that have been put upon you. You know it's going to be busier than usual. You're already busy. You already have a job. You already have a house to take care of. You already have family. So where's the spaciousness going to come? Particularly if you're doing it all as a woman, you have to like invite spaciousness in a different way. So
Right.
I invite spaciousness with my partner by creating little intimate surprises all the way through this season. And I'm not going to get into too many examples, but mostly they involve touch or some kind of turn on. And then another thing that I've been doing is trying to spread the load. Like a lot of women don't ask for help, and they do all the holiday. Someone wrote this beautiful piece. I'm going to drop her name right now, but she said, women create the holiday magic. Like, and sometimes it's fun, but sometimes, how many little extra delicate things can you fit into your day? I mean, you're busier than anyone. So just take the expectations off. I want to ramble. Okay. So from a gift standpoint, I like giving things. I actually have some things here that are not my products. If I can look, this is my friend.
Great.
This is my friend Katrina Markoff, who runs a company called Vosges Chocolates in Chicago. If any of you are from, look at this packaging. This is a box of truffles that's called Prima Materia, or First Materials. Or her little, look at this, so gorgeous. This little.
What is that, a box of?
These are chocolates, self-love chocolates with a whole.
Oh my God, what a good idea.
Oh my God, they're so beautiful. Or I just was reading, I don't know if you're familiar with this man, John Koenig, The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, that just came out 2 weeks ago. And it's like little words for human emotion that are everyone can understand, but they don't have any words for. So,
what's the book called?
It's called The Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. So once you start looking around, I just like to give people things that will remind them of their own beauty. It can be small,
but great gift idea.
Exquisite, So from my own products.
Do we like chocolates?
Do we like chocolates?
Of course we like chocolates.
I can explain it away. Like theobromine is a wonderful, is the essential ingredient.
That's a rhetorical question.
People feel better, but yes.
And what's the name of the chocolates again? Someone's asking.
It's called Vosges. V-O-S.
Oh, Vosges, yeah. It's so good.
She's wonderful.
Right near my apartment. God,
another female entrepreneur, amazing woman.
I'm going to have you do like a whole list of these that I can post on my website of all of the products that you recommend for, Valentine's Day, the holidays, gift giving in general, plus your own.
I mean, I love my products. I mean, I like making beautiful things, but I also really love one thing that's happened with the company is I went from pretty heavy industry. So being embedded in a community of people who spend their whole lives devoted to health, wellness,
Yeah.
beauty, aesthetics, peace, love, harmony. What a joy to uplift each other. So I meet all of these people like you, like the physicians who are on the advisory board who are also creating their own lines of products and things, like the women Wildflower Sex. If you're interested in sex toys, she is on the daily on Instagram posting things that, you know, help educate people on how to use devices.
No, what a
But
good idea.
uplifting each other, like the whole thing is like, let's uplift each other, celebrate each other's gifts. One of my core worldviews,
And create a dialogue. So there
yeah,
is no shame in discussing these things.
there's no shame, and also there's a shift when you move from being jealous to upliftment that is so exciting. Like if you see somebody win an Academy Award, and you're like, and there's and you're an actor, say, you could be like, why not me? I want to. You could be jealous, or you could be like, oh my God, there goes another face of divinity winning an Academy Award. Look at another
I never
aspect
thought
of
of it
me
like
winning an
that.
Academy Award. And in that upliftment, it's you turn your lens on others with wonder, and you support them, and that is a true joy in life.
So what have you learned from a lot of these OBGYNs and doulas who've taught you sort of things, who contribute to your website, rosewoman.com? Give us
Yeah, well, one of the things,
give
like,
us, share some of that insight.
I want to say, just on the doula thing, for example, as an example, like there's a woman in New York, Latham Thomas, and she runs something called Mama Glow. You might know her, Glow Maven, and she brings attention to uh, the disparities in maternal health in the United States. Like there are parts of America where maternal mortality rates are lower than Africa or undeveloped countries with no healthcare infrastructures. The role of a doula is to accompany a woman through the entire cycle of preparing for pregnancy, going through the birth and delivery, and healing afterwards. So doulas can play a really important role in being an advocate for a woman's health during this period of time. Once you start diving into the history of childbirth and what is normal, natural, supportive, um, you'll find that there's a lot of politicization around it. And there's a woman named Jaguar Star. One of the episodes on my pod is Jaguar Star's episode, where she's talking about the history of childbirth and the medicalization of that and the disempowerment around it. She, I think, mentions a French thinker, Michel Audin, who talks about childbirth as one of the 9 orgasms, and that you really could. So I've learned a lot around how our experiences in a female body are nested inside of political structures that I didn't expect to learn. I also learned that about the disproportionate investment made in women's health, in particular women's sexual and reproductive health, to men. There's one drug for women's arousal, and there are 48 for men. And it's not accidental, because the ratio of research dollars is about running at that same pace. So one thing I've learned is that there's a lot of disparity, you know, and that if you want to be well cared for, then you need to advocate for yourself. That doctors have a hard time talking to women about sexual health. There's a lot of stigma even with your physician. If you don't bring it up, they won't bring it up. So there's also some resources on the site for how to talk to your doctor about your sexual and intimate well-being, how to ask questions about perimenopause and your cycle, and also how to help other women who might not have the resources that you do to get the care they need.
Yeah, be your own best doctor. Learn as much as you can. I've surrounded myself with wellness practitioners and doctors for the last decade, endless, conversations and research, and it's so important to know your body and understand it. So when something happens, you're at the ready to, research and learn more about it,
We're coming
and
full
understand
circle
it.
to what we started with about knowing your body. Like when you went to health class, they told you the basics of what, you know, you get a period, that's it. You can get pregnant. Don't get
Yeah.
pregnant, don't get an STD. But like whether it's your cardiovascular system or what your liver does or what your kidney does, or your ovaries or whatever, like go ahead and do a deep dive and understand the mechanics and the beautiful machinery of your embodiment, and watch how that changes the way you interact with the medical profession. Like they're there to help you, but don't disempower yourself. be in the be your knowledge is power, and that is sexually, that's coming of age, and it's athletically, you know. So
I love that. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing all that.
thank you.
So, holiday gift ideas. There are lots of gift sets too on
Yeah,
Christine's website, rosewoman.com. She has generously given my friends and family here watching today the Purist 15 discount
yes,
code. So take advantage of that for the holidays. It's really wonderful that she is sharing all of this knowledge with us today on the day of her release of her book, Reverence. So
yeah,
I'm so proud and honored to be with you today, of all days, and having this lively conversation about uh, intimate wellness and the
yeah.
wellness of intimacy and all the ways you want to look at that and what it means to know our bodies and celebrate our bodies and love our bodies in the best way that we can.
I am so glad to join you. You are so lovely, and you did such an amazing job of preparing for this interview with me. I just want to compliment you on your care and concern and professionalism. And everybody, if I had one wish for everybody out there, it would be that you would remember that you were born whole, perfect, and complete, and that any adaptations that have taken you out of that memory, that those can be released, and that you can return to this state of just really celebrating and enjoying your body, and your mind, spirit can be aligned with that, um, in all the ways, sensually, sexually, intimately, but also, just this joyful expression of your own creative purpose. So,
And you've also given us this gift of Rosebud. These products are rooted in a sustainability ethos. They're toxic free, environmentally safe. Can you tell us a little bit about why that was important to you?
yeah, that was the thing when I was thinking about reverence, where you start to get in touch with like that this is the one planet we have. I don't want us to have to stop making things and consuming things in order to live on planet Earth. But I do believe that we have a responsibility to do what used to be called cradle to cradle thinking. That where is my stuff coming from and where is it going after I use it? And so that's not easy to do in a supply chain that's not transparent. So by using glass, it's recyclable. By using certain kinds of PET in the lids, it's recyclable. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working now on doing replacement insert cups for the jars so that you don't have to
Great.
buy and ship the jar. Um, we do complete carbon offsetting, carbon neutralization with each purchase through a company called Cooler. And, I'm trying very hard to say, as much as I like starting and growing businesses, I am a person living on a planet that has finite resources, and we need to extract and replenish those in equal measure in order to sustain ourselves here. And so that was important. And then from the standpoint of human sustainability, like it goes beyond like just the material goods, but it also goes to how you pay people and how the people who work in your company own portions of the company, and like what does it mean to respect other human life when I'm sourcing ingredients and things like that. I want to know where it comes from as much as possible and who grows it, and make sure that they're treated well, and that know that my choices, no matter what I'm choosing, has an impact. Every choice has an impact, and my impact might be tiny, but it is contagious. And so if I'm unconscious and I make a choice out of my unconsciousness, that's also contagious. And that's what I'm kind of working on now. And there's always ways to be better. I did these pouches, like these little zipper pouches. They come as part of our gift sets. And every time I
That's so
do them, I
pretty.
look for a way to make them cleaner. And it's a constant thing. It's do your best and then continually improve is kind of the way that I feel about sustainability as well. And then in terms of the actual ingredients, natural is not always it's not always great. People have allergies to plants and other things like that. But to the extent that I can make them clean, like petroleum byproducts are super bad for the vulva and for the skin. They occlude the natural breathing of the body. And then there are other things like a lot of nanoparticles in cosmetics now. They're meant to do magical things to your skin, but they pass through your skin and your organs can't process them, and then they get peed out into, and the ocean can't process them. And
Hmm.
so, like avoiding nanoparticles in your cosmetic ingredients, there are just a lot of choices where I feel that things that were that are plant derived are healthier, and that they can, and we can digest them individually and collectively.
It's so thoughtful of the process that you've undergone to create these vegan, hormone-free, toxic-free products. Just a reminder to circle back to the website,
Thank you.
rosewoman.com, everyone, because there's so much good information. Uh, Reverence is Christine's new book out today. Order that, but you can also read articles from different wellness practitioners and doctors. She has a section called Wisdom, Letters on Power, Love, and Womanhood, weekly inspirations covering issues like why sleep evades women in menopause, the different the psychospiritual opportunity in menopause and midlife, your brain on nipple stimulation and how it ties to orgasm. Like so many interesting subject matters are addressed here. Talking to your mother about sexuality and life, uh,
Ooh,
really
ooh.
important. So,
That
you
one,
know,
I just want to, can I do a pull out on that one just to call out?
yeah.
Okay. So it was so interesting when we did the survey that we said, how easy is it to talk to various people, your partner, your children, your mother, your friends, your doctor, about your sexual, sensual, reproductive life? And then we cut the data by like boomer one, boomer two, like basically cut it by generation. And across all generations, the number one, the hardest person to talk to was your mother. And I was like,
Hmm.
if that's the hardest person to talk to, then how does transgenerational entrainment and education about what it means to live your life in this female body, how does that happen? And the good news is that if boomer one had a really hard time, it got slightly better with each
Yeah.
generation, but it's still under 3. It's still like a 2.3 on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms
Wow.
of easiness. And so that particular article,
That's
How to
interesting.
Talk to Your Mother About Sexuality or Life in a Woman's Body, was directly coming off of a result of that survey. The easiest person to talk to was your partner, and that cut almost directly. Like my generation and younger can talk to their partner. My generation and older, very hard to talk to their partner. So whatever happened for you and I in the sort of 80s, 90s thing was a big, really had a big impact. So, and then talking to your doctor was an interesting one. So there's also an article on there on like how to take charge of the meeting with your OBGYN or your GP around your sexual health. Yes. Talk
Very
to your mother.
important.
Ask her stories,
Yeah.
just, yeah.
And it's important as a mother to bring up those subjects with your child,
Yeah.
not just with your mother, but, really, mostly women, mothers are watching. And I would recommend bringing up these subjects with your child, even if she doesn't want to talk about it right off the bat. She'll circle back and they listen. They
Yeah.
don't respond the way you probably want them to at first, but they'll come around at some point, and they'll know that you're there for them and that you have some good ideas on that, having gone through it yourself. I think for our kids, they don't understand that you've actually been their age at some point, and they just really have a hard time relating. And I think that's how you kind of bridge that gap, communication, right?
Yeah. I would like to join you in that and add to it. Um, Absolutely, this passive communication that sexuality is normal, that you're there to talk to, and also realizing like that they're having a totally different experience of the world. And the things that they're exposed to from a young age give them a completely different outlook. Like the understanding that gender isn't binary. I mean, a person who's 20 now or 15 now grew up with a very different perspective on that. That there's 72 forms of intersex, of combinations of female and male, um, physical construction at birth. And up into the 70s, if you had a combination, the doctors just decided what gender you would be and fixed you before you even went into your parents' arms. So there are things that are just become these that they're aware of, that you contain both. You're like the divine androgyne. You have half female, half male in your makeup, and then it expresses in different ways. And so I'm also careful to not impose my worldview on the emerging worldview of these young people who have their own genius. You know, I'm learning from them all the time. So
learn from them, but also share with them your wisdom, because that's how
totally,
they'll
that's right.
become the
That's
best
right.
versions of themselves, right?
It's this mutuality of respect. Like, what's your experience like? Let me tell you what it was like for me. And that's when it comes out best, I think. My daughter's taught me so much about yeah, she was much more in her power from a very young age than it took me longer to get there. Anyway,
I love that.
so
And another tip, my friend is a child psychiatrist who wrote a book called No Shame, and it's great. Dr. Leah Lees. And she talks about creating rituals, which is really key at critical junctures in a girl's or boy's life, where, you know, in religion you have communion,
right.
you have confirmation, you have bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, but different things that you can do, like celebrate a child on a specific significant year, like take them on a trip, teach them something, impart that wisdom in a constructive way in a different setting, you know, take them out of the home and do some sort of activity with them where you can give them a sort of a boost into that womanhood or manhood, that jump that they need to take at critical times, whether it's, you know, 13 or 16, whatever it might be. But creating that ritual is really important. And as a mother, like you said earlier, what is it? 90% of women create all the Christmas time
Yeah,
rituals that are
yeah,
happening. You know, that's important. You know, that advent calendar. I went and got that today because of our conversation yesterday. I was like, oh, my kids don't need any more chocolate. But you know what? They need that ritual of the advent calendar,
yeah. Like
of
a
being
ritual
celebrated
involves
every day,
day
a
change.
reminder of what the day is and what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I have created a highly ritualized life. Like the morning, that first hour in the morning is no phones, and the last hour before bed, which, you know, if you're running an organization and you have a big family, that's really hard to do. But with what are you going to do otherwise? You know, you have to like create the spaciousness to breathe and be a human and connect with spirit and create beauty in your life before the outside world overtakes you. So that's one. And then what you were saying about children, um, or really anything, if it's a milestone, even as an adult or a woman, like there was the way you were before, and there's the way you're going to be after, and to take a pause and to intend and to go through a process that shifts the way you see the world, and to know that there will be something different about you afterward and create symbolism around that. That is a way to anchor it in your body, and it works much better than just passively observing it. I can't
So
wait to
everyone
read this.
check out all of this really important information on self-development, and, you know,
Yeah.
share it with others and the daughters in your lives at rosewoman.com. And when you see those amazing products she has that smell fantastic, remember they're non-toxic, all natural, environmentally friendly. Rosebud Woman, Honor is my favorite, by the way. This bomb is the bomb, so to speak.
That
You
is my
use your
favorite,
code. Use your code Purist15 when you check out too.
and
Christine,
the body oil is my second favorite, and that one,
anoint.
the anoint oil, is my
It's a
second favorite
beautiful
because
bottle too, by the way. It's really substantial,
it's
elegant.
really a lovely gift for anyone because it
Yeah,
invites sort of mutual massage, and you can use it on yourself, but it's also just beautiful for a sensual massage of a partner.
yeah.
So
Create a touch pod in your life, right?
yeah, I want to
Christine,
hear.
thank you so much.
Thank you,
Congratulations on the new book, Reverence,
thank you.
also
You are.
available on Amazon. And I will put this up in my on my Instagram so people can circle back to it. And I will also post the discount code as well so people can check it out for the holidays.
I appreciate you for all the things you're doing to create wellness
Thank
in the
you.
world and for taking such time with me today.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us. This was such a fun conversation to have and much needed. And I appreciate it. So have an excellent, excellent weekend.
Thank you.